Hello and welcome to Santos on Sports. Alongside Chris Santos, I am Paul Santos. Welcome in. We got a lot to talk about today. We haven't been on in a few weeks. We're really looking forward to it. I'd like to thank our sponsors, John Seed. He is an attorney at law at 156 8th Street in New Bedford. We have Lakeville Athletic Club, 325 Bedford Street in Lakeville. You can play tennis and pickleball, citywide glass. 3 locations in Dartmouth, Fall River, and Taunton. And Scotty's Pub located at 202 Pleasant Street in Fall River. All right, Chris, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm well, Paul. Since we've had Sloan Piver on last, it's been a busy couple of weeks, as you said. We've been off, but we're back today and taking advantage of what's coming up, which is the NFL right around the corner. And let me start with you, Paul. Since the couple of weeks, we've had a few training camps. We've had a few preseason games. Unfortunately, we had a little tragedy, a little injury there that had to shut down the Green Bay Packers game and cancel this week's game against Tennessee Titans. So, a little rough start for the Patriots and what's happening with them. But that being said, our topic and question of the day is, will Bill Obrien affect this offense and affect this team this year with a tough schedule and a good AFC East division?
All right, well, let me jump in there, and I just want to say a shout out to Jeremy Silverfine, who's watching up there in the Boston area, and he asked the question, how many Santos does it take to talk sports?
Well, I guess it's two right here.
Yeah, we get 2 right here. So I'm interested to hear Jeremy's comment, but, I got to tell you, I don't mean to be Mr. Negative. I don't mean to be Mr. Negative. Okay, they got the new offensive coordinator. I know it's early on. I know they haven't played one snap, but I'm watching, the scrimmages here, and all I see is these little dump offs and little dink and dunk, and I don't really see anything that's going to make a big difference. And the thing I fear is, even Belichick said the other day in an interview, he said, great players make great coaches. So what do we really have there? I mean, we have some improvements. Okay, we have some good players, but look around the rest of the league. I mean, even in the AFC East, we have to contend now with Aaron Rodgers twice. We have to contend with the Buffalo Bills, right? We don't have anybody like Josh Allen on our team. We don't have a Stephon Diggs. You look at the Dolphins, right? Tua Tagovailoa. Okay, he's got his issues, but at least he has Tyreek Hill. We don't have Tyreek Hill. He has Jason Waddle, too. And how about the power rankings of the rest of the AFC? I mean, we're talking about the Bengals. We're talking about the Chargers. We're talking about the Ravens. We're talking about the Jaguars. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, he really improved. We, of course, have Joe Burrow to contend with. Deshaun Watson's going to be playing. Odell Beckham Jr. signed with the Ravens, and we got to deal with Lamar Jackson running all around. So I'm thinking to myself, all right, so the offensive coordinator, just changing the offensive coordinator, as much as we criticized Patricia and Judge last year, is this really going to make a difference with this schedule? I got to tell you, I'm looking at this. I'm sorry. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, right? I hope I'm wrong. I don't think it's going to make a damn bit of difference when you look at who they have to play and the schedule and the quality of the players that are out there. The Patriots are number 30 in the league in spending. So come on, break out the wallet, get some guys like Tyreek Hill, Jason Waddle, and some of these other guys, and at least mix some of these players in with the drafts that you have. I don't see it. The offensive line looks like it's suspect. I don't think it's going to make any difference at all.
Well, listen, coach is coach and play is play. We understand that. We always have. But the camaraderie between a quarterback and his offensive coordinator is very big in the NFL. I always thought it was important when Tom Brady had Josh McDaniels. I thought that was a good, fit between the two. I didn't see it last year, obviously, with Judge and Patricia. They really looked out of sync, and it did not look and feel comfortable at all, especially if you're a New England Patriots fan. Now, that being said, Bill Obrien has been out of the NFL for a while. He was in college doing his thing there. Now he comes back. Now, does that mean that the years he's been out, now coming to what the new NFL looks like, is going to be kind of hurting him in his style? Or can he adapt, overcome, adjust, and work together with a young quarterback in Mac Jones and make a difference? Now, according to what's been going on this year, Mac seems to be happy. Bill seems to be happy. And things seem to mesh between the two of them. So that's a good start. But, Paul, I think you've hit it right on the head. To me, and it's been said all preseason all training camp, this will revolve around the offensive line and the offensive scheme of the New England Patriots. That's going to be, to me, if Bill Obrien can make them do what they need to do, because that's been the talk of camp. What has this offensive line, can they bring to the table? And they're going to need it, again, against the teams that you had talked about. So maybe not Mac Jones and the receivers and the running backs. I'm more concerned about what he brings to this offensive line. And can they protect Mac? Can they open lanes for running backs? Can they give him time to throw the ball and execute an offense that they want? I think it starts there. It's going to be a big year for that offensive line if the Patriots can do anything to shine and have a chance to make the playoffs.
All right, what do you think out there? Is it going to make a big difference now that we get Billy Obrien in there? Certainly a good move. I'm not saying it wasn't a good move, but I'm just looking at the schedule and I'm looking at the players. And like you said, the coaches coach and the players play. Yeah. And if you're looking around the league, the other teams are more talented than we are. So, I mean, he can only make so much of a difference. But what do you think? Give us a call. You see the number there. It's 774-762-6234. Jeremy, if you're watching, give us a shout, 774-762-6234. And any of our regulars that are out there or any of those new callers like we got last time, what do you think? Do you think it's going to make a difference? I mean, we haven't gone through the schedule yet, but we will. We'll go through the schedule like last year and say, okay, that's a win, that's a loss, that's a win, that's a loss. I've done it a little bit in my head. I mean, last year between you, myself, and Karen Gurigian, who ended up getting it with the 8 and 9, you got to figure the Patriots are going to be around 500. I'm looking at this schedule. This schedule is brutal. So, how much difference can the offensive coordinator really make? Yeah, he's happy. Maybe Patricia wasn't as good as he could have been. I agree with all that. Although when Zappi was in there, he did all right. But anyway, he he had his problems, and Billy O'Brien is certainly superior to, judging Patricia. But I don't know. The Patriots, they could win 6 games. They could win anywhere from 6 to 10. But I think we're probably talking about, what's the over-under right now? Isn't the over-under now around 7?
Yeah, I probably think that's what it is at this particular moment. I tried to reach out to Karen to get her to come on our show. I hope to get her in the next couple of weeks. So if you're a fan of hers, stay with us on that. She wasn't able to make it today. She was actually supposed to be in Tennessee for that Tidings training camp with that play in with the Patriots. And then obviously the game that was supposed to be played, that got canceled. So she had other commitments to fill, but I hope to get her, Paul, take on 1, the offensive line, 2, Bill O'Brien, and 3, is this Mac Jones's team still, or is there going to be something with Zappi to, maybe ruffle the feathers a little bit in the locker room between the two? Because I've heard that some people talking that they don't see eye to eye between the two quarterbacks. So is there a controversy there? But that being said, we can get what she predicts and what she thinks, and then we can do that too if we can get her on. Hopefully we can.
All right, we have a comment here in the comment line. Phil McDonald said the line will not hold up all year. Lower third of leave and pass protection. The running game is somewhere in the mid-12th to the 15th, so it doesn't think the running game. And, of course, we got your guy, Ezekiel Elliott, over here. Yep. The Patriots fans will be saying this is the greatest guy ever. But I think, if we have a bad offensive line, it's not going to make any difference. And our good friend Chops Turner from the Paul Santos Live Show, 49ers all the way, baby. And you know something? I was looking at the power rankings. San Francisco, they're dangerous. They're up there in the top 2 or 3, and the NFC is not as tough as the AFC. So, Chops might have a good year rooting for the 49ers. We certainly will see. But I do have a call here, so let's go to our first call of the day. Butch is on the line. You're on Santos on Sports. How are you?
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
How's it going?
Afternoon. Pretty good. So, Paul, we're going to have to define what better means. You want to define what better? Are they going to be better than last year? Well, I think, with a new offensive coordinator, a professional offensive coordinator, someone that's lived on the offensive side of the ball, has had success in the NFL on the offensive side of the ball, has had success no matter where he's been on the offensive side of the ball, they're going to be better. Now, will that transfer into wins? Only time will tell. There'll be injuries. There'll be injuries to other teams. will the defense hold up? I think Chris hit a very good point about the offensive line. As the offensive line goes, that's how Mac Jones and the rest of the offense will go. So there's a lot to be, to consider whether they're going to be better or see if there's more success. And if people are defining success by wins, I think we're entering the season under the same scenario as we did last year. We really can't tell until they play the games.
Well, but as you just said, I agree with you to the point of, this year compared to last year about being better. Does that mean that the offense opens up more under Obrien? Does it mean they'll score more points? Doesn't mean it's going to turn into wins, but can they score more points? Can they execute in the red zone better than what they've done, last year? So I agree with you into that point, and I think Bill O'Brien will make those things better. Now, that being said, does that energize the defense even more? Does that mean it saves them a little bit from being so tired that they're on the field so much because the offense couldn't do anything last year? Will that help them out? And that will lead to wins too? Again, yet to be determined. But I agree with you. I think the offensive mind of Bill O'Brien will make it better for them in those categories and hopefully lead to wins and have a successful season.
Yeah, exactly. I think that you'll see the offensive statistics improve. Will that transfer into wins? Who knows? Will the defense play as well for a full season as they did in periods last year? We'll see. Injuries and, other teams are going to be better. They made some changes that they think they're going to be better. Who knows? Will we have a running game? Will the running game with Zeke, will we feed Zeke enough to, take some heat off of Mac and some of the other offensive players? Who knows? It certainly is interesting. In this part of the country, though, people aren't really interested in interesting. They want W's, So
right.
We'll see. It is exciting, though, to look and see and find out.
Well, I'm definitely hopeful that it'll make a difference. I'm just suspect because, as we said, these other teams seem to be more talented than the Patriots, right? So for example, just in their division alone, you got to deal with Aaron Rodgers of the Jets. Now, how much of a difference is he going to make? I mean, he's probably put the Jets up there where, when the Patriots play them, I mean, that's going to be a tough game, right? You got the Buffalo Bills. They haven't
with their offensive line. He's liable to play one set and get hurt. You won't see him for the year,
Absolutely. Anything could happen. I mean, Aaron Rodgers could end up not doing as well here as he did with Green Bay. We don't know that. Buffalo Bills, I mean, we haven't shown that we can really beat them. I mean, Are we going to be able to beat the Buffalo Bills now because we have Billy O'Brien? I mean, we still got to deal with Stephon Diggs and some of these other players over there. And by the way, trying to win with defense, Bill's trying to win with defense. You can't win with defense like you could. In baseball, they always say that good pitching stops good hitting. Well, in football, good offenses beat good defenses because the rules are so jaded against the defense, you can't do anything to stop them. So I'm just afraid that they're out-talented.
Yes. The rules are so leaning towards the offensive player that mentality of, defense wins championships. I don't know. I think that's, I think that's in the past old days. I agree with you.
Yeah, it's Missy Rocha Farias says she's really concerned about the offensive line. And the question saying, will Billy O'Brien make a difference? Well, David Allen Eaton says yes. Billy O'Brien will make a difference. So I think he agrees with you that, right. The question is, it can make a difference, but that difference may not be good enough to combat the tough schedule that they have.
Yep. Well, it's almost upon us, though. The NFL season and all the excitement that comes with it is almost here,
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I don't know, Chris, did you have some thoughts on that topic?
Well, no, listening to what she said, the offensive line to me is the big key in success of the New England Patriots, where there's not these big names out there that sit back and say, whoa, this is a great right guard, or this is a great left tackle. These are guys that are interchangeable. And I still think the Patriots are still trying to find their top five who's going to start this season and hopefully stay for a little bit of time, because as soon as you get injured, what's there to back it up and what's taking its place? And they do start to do a lot of shuffling. So you want to win ball games and you want to have success. It starts there in the line. because you're going to have to find a way to open holes for Zeke and Stevenson. You're going to have to find time for Mac to, throw the ball down the field to his receivers and get it going. So if they can do that, and if Bill can find the guys that he wants up front, I think that will be a significant thing that I will be looking for in week 1, and I think you guys should too.
Yeah, I agree.
Hey, Butch, I want to ask you a baseball question before you go. The injury to Ohtani, that was going to be our second question today. The last time Chris and I were on, I was banging the table here saying that the Boston Red Sox have deep pockets and they should go out there and get this guy. And if they got him, it would be unbelievable. You'd have a packed house. There'd be so much excitement. You got a guy that could be the best pitcher in the league and the best hitter in the league at the same time, something we haven't seen in 100 years since Babe Ruth. And now all of a sudden, he's looking at another Tommy John surgery.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean? Like, should the Red Sox still pursue him? I mean, he might go for a less number now. What about that? Should we still try to get this guy into a Red Sox uniform, or is he going to end up being hurt?
Well, he certainly is going to go for less money, which, is at first I felt bad for the Angels, but they just saved themselves millions of dollars by him getting hurt, because he's not going to be able to demand the money that they're initially talking. He's not going to be able to pitch and hit at the same frequency. So we'll see. He's still going to be a multimillionaire, don't get me wrong, and teams are going to go after him, because even if he could, come out of the bullpen, maybe close, he is a premier hitter in Major League Baseball. So, the price is going to come way down. It's going to have to. Serious risk to pay him all that money and just be a DH or not being able to pitch. It's not going to be worth it to the folks to do that anymore.
Right. All right, Butch.
Paul, that's why those big contracts are very difficult. And when you talk about not really the money, I talk about the years. Now, remember what's going to happen here. He's going to have surgery on that. So he's going to miss 1 season, if not maybe 2, to try to get himself back. And then he's got to get back to the person that he was, which normally probably he could be. But if you had that package where I could get him for 5, 6 compared to 11 or 12, like some are stating, that's going to be interesting too, to see which team goes out and says, well, how many years do I want him? Because he's going to miss some now. And that means his age is going to go up a little bit. So things are going to start to take a turn for him. And that's going to be very difficult on some of these teams.
It is, Chris. And, I was listening to MLB today, and, Strasburg just retired.
Yep.
And he retired, and, they were unable to get insurance on him. So they owe him a big truckload of money, and they have to pay it. And it has to come out of, operational funds. They weren't able to insure his contract because of the nature and the number of injuries he had.
And there's no guarantee when you have that surgery. And that's a perfect example right there. He tried to come back. He went for another surgery, tried to come back after that. He had some starts, and then they shut him down again. He never could get back to the person that he was, and he was an outstanding pitcher. So, I wish nothing but the best for Ohtani, but it's not guaranteed that you're going to come out of this and be even better than what you were before, you went in. So teams are going to be really nervous and really suspect about how they pull this one off. And you know what? Feels like 15 years and you're still playing like a guy like Bobby Bonilla, who teams are still paying, for a contract that the guy was already done, or Chris Davis for the Baltimore Orioles. You got to be very careful nowadays. Yeah. So them big contracts are really tough.
I agree. And it's unfortunate, but that merchandise now is, tainted.
Yep.
And, he's not going to go starving, and his family's not going to suffer at all, but he did lose a ton of money by getting injured,
That's for sure.
Man, really unfortunate for him.
Well, Butch, thank you very much for your call. We appreciate it. You always have some great insight, and hopefully we'll speak to you again soon.
All right, good luck this year, fellas.
All right, thank you very much. That's Butch, and he makes a good point, too, and I know you brought it up, and we want to get back to the football, but how about the Bogarts contract? That's not looking too good right now that San Diego rolled out the money. Now, the Red Sox could have tied him up a year ago, 2 years ago, with something much less and much shorter, and by waiting, once he went on the market, somebody was going to roll out the money. But look at already, even in year one, it's like, oh my God. I mean, this guy, he didn't live up, at least in the first year, not to the kind of money that they're paying him.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. Now, does that make Bloom a hero for doing what he did with that particular contract? I mean, it is what it is, and it's how long. I just think he's a better suit and a better fit for the Boston Red Sox than he is with the Padres. But I understand what the Padres were trying to do with guys like Soto, Machado. Think about that lineup and how they could be really a potent, National League team that could challenge the Dodgers. And right now, they've had their issues. Even their pitching staff has been outstanding. So, it's just something that where maybe the fit is not where it is for him, and he'd rather be in Boston.
Jeremy Silverfine, who's watching, thank you very much for looking in. Great to hear from you. A gentleman I worked with many years ago, and he's chiming in here and asking the question, do the Patriots really want to win by spending money, or they just want to compete and make more profit?
Interesting question.
I think it is. And Jeremy, if you don't mind, you can give us a call, it's 774-762-6234.
Yeah. If the players are sitting there to try to make a profit, I don't see that happen. Obviously, that could be the upper echelon, but I just don't see the Patriots, that organization, thinking that way after what they've been through for 20 years and what they've won. I don't see it, Paul. I mean, don't get me wrong. I could be wrong, but I just see, it's the time where the fits are not working for them. And you said they got the money, but the players that they want is just not for them.
I know, but when you're 30th in spending, and guys like Tyreek Hill and these other guys go by, I mean, just using an example, and, they had an all-pro offensive lineman, a tackle a couple of years ago that they didn't want to pay, and now they're scrambling around for an offensive line. I mean, you got to pay these guys, you get what you pay for, they say. So, Bill Belichick and Kraft, I don't know, what do they think? They think they can take a mediocre team and then make them into a Super Bowl? No, you can't. You got to have, I mean, we had Tom Brady. We had, obviously Gronkowski. We had Vinatieri kicking field goals in snowstorms. We had an outstanding defense, Rodney Harrison and McGinnis and all these guys, right? We just don't have that right now. And, because of that, I just don't see them winning enough games to get into the playoffs. But we do have a call coming in, so let's go to that right now. Ryan's in Rochester. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Great. How are you?
Doing fantastic. So, kind of to answer the question here, I would certainly hope that things will be better off with Bill Obrien. You were just talking about the offensive line. I'd say that's probably the biggest concern. As much as I've complained about the lack of spending at receiver, and I can easily see Kraft wanting to make Belichick and Kraft just wanted to make some profit. Maybe more Kraft than Belichick because he's the owner. But I'd say right tackle is still the biggest concern, and hopefully they're thinking about moving Owenu over there with Riley Reef kicking inside. But it should be better, but it's not going to be, I don't think, exponentially better.
Ryan, it came out today in the media. It was rumors that they were even thinking about sitting Mac Jones for the next preseason game because they're still not sure about this offensive line, and they don't want Mac to get hurt.
Yep, I'd say that's a bad sign of things to come.
Bad sign.
If we're starting City Sal over there at right tackle, a raw rookie who started out at guard, and now we're just kicking outside. That's a bad sign.
Yeah.
And if we got Philadelphia week 1, they got to be licking their chops if they're looking at this. Like the left side of the line, I'm less concerned about because I still think that Trent Brown and Cole Strange they can be good, and David Andrews is still a pretty damn good center. But that entire right side, that's a big question mark.
Yeah, no, I agree with you in the 3 players. And again, Strange I think he's only going to get better, hopefully, by coached up by Bill Obrien and obviously the offensive line guys. And so that will make him better. Andrews is the stud of the line that, that's the veteran that you lead around and say, okay, boys, get on my coattails. So at least they got a couple there that they can rely on. But you're right. It's a matter of, if I'm concerned about this in preseason, how do I think about it going into week 1 against a team from the Super Bowl and the Philadelphia Eagles. I got to be nervous as hell if I'm my coaching staff saying, oh, man, can I stop Carter coming from the outside and some of these big guys of Philadelphia who's gotten better on the defensive side.
But again, I think it comes back to the fact that the Patriots have let players go that they shouldn't. You know, we had an all-pro offensive lineman a couple of years ago, wanted a big contract. They wouldn't give it to him. So now we're stuck with some of these players here. I mean, Cole Strange, there was some question about whether or not that was the right pick right there in the first round and stuff like that, whether he panned out. I guess the experts are saying that he's pretty good, and if he stays healthy, he can be good, but that's another thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is he going to stay healthy? But, you know, I just don't understand. After, you know, Tom Brady left and went to Tampa Bay and won that Super Bowl, which basically embarrassed the Patriots ran out and spent all kinds of money on all kinds of players. Some of them panned out, some of them didn't. And then, you know, they got into the playoffs that next year. And since then, they've been cheapo depot. So what happened? Like that one year, they decided to spend money. They spent money, a lot of it, in the wrong places. And then the following year, where they were actually better free agents, they didn't spend anything. So I don't know what they're doing. I mean, they could have paid some of these offensive linemen that they had before and have a better offensive line, but they didn't want to do it. I don't understand.
You have to remember, they created the need to go get Cole Strange to begin with because they traded Shaq Mason to Tampa.
Right. That's right. That's the person I was thinking of. So that didn't make any sense to me. Now you're running around trying to find somebody that, you know, you don't know how they're going to be. I mean, this player was an all-pro.
It's just frustrating because you mentioned the big spending spree, but then after that they're just like, no, we can just go back to like they act like after one spending spree they're all set to go. And then you've got, you know, all pro players all over the place. Like even if you didn't go get DeAndre Hopkins, there were still tackles out there. You could have gotten like an Orlando Brown Jr. Like he took a discount to go to Cincinnati. He got much better offers.
Agree. And that spree that they didn't turn into, you know, studs that maybe they thought it was going to be. So with that being said, when you release that player or you move on from that player, you know, with the money that you have, you sit back and say, okay, what can I do to replace him and spend some money in that situation, which they have not done. They went through probably more of the draft than anything else. And unfortunately, Bill has not had a great reputation in the draft. You know, he's not been a great picker. So that's been a struggle for him and the organization. And so that's why, as Paul is saying, probably spending would be the better way to go than trying to do it the other way.
Well, I think a little bit of both, you know, like you can't just spend your way to the Super Bowl, although, you know, the Rams did it to some degree before they cleaned house. You know, the Red Sox did it with Dombrowski a few years ago. Just trade all the picks and, you know, get people in here that are already proven. Can you do that with football? I don't think you can buy your way to the Super Bowl, but I think they've had a couple of better drafts the last couple of years. And if they had just mixed some of these draft picks in with some good free agents and you still have a great coach in Bill Belichick, okay, now maybe you can get into the playoffs, you know, but if you just sit there and let all of your opponents pick up all of these proven free agents and now you got to play against them, they're all in the AFC, at least it feels like it. You know, the AFC looks like they're loaded compared to the NFC, and the Patriots have to play a lot of these teams. And on top of that, their schedule is tough because they're playing the NFC division with the Dallas Cowboys in there and stuff like that. So this is going to be tough. You know, I think you should combine the draft picks with the free agents together and mix them together, you know, with the great coach that you have in Bill Belichick. Then maybe you have something there, but they don't just want to do it.
And another one, Ryan, is Miami's trying to get Jonathan Taylor from Indianapolis. They've offered a couple of trades already that Indy has declined. And so now I hear Buffalo's trying to get into the mix, and they're going after him too. So another all-pro player and good running back looking to make an impact in the AFC East.
Yeah, I mean, how in the world are we going to be able to beat Buffalo?
If they get him, that's a big pick.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to sit there and let these other teams load up while we're not doing anything.
And it's like what we say about the Red Sox. Like, you know, you got to be in, not, I shouldn't say middle of the pack, like you got to be in the middle of the spectrum of that. You can't be the Rams and spend a whole lot of money and a whole lot of draft picks because that's not sustainable. But at the same time, you can't just rely on the draft, especially considering, like you guys mentioned before, Bill hasn't had a great history of drafting aside from these past few years with, you know, Dave Ziegler and Matt Groh running these draft boards. So the thing is, they kind of suck at both. When they do spend, they spend on mostly guys who don't pan out, except for the Matt Judons, the Jalen Mills, and the Hunter Henrys of the world. But in the draft, they tend to not do good either. Like you got to take some big swings in free agency and more of big swings in the draft instead of like just reaching.
Well, I think Obrien will make a difference, and you said it too, Ryan. Maybe not enough to make this gigantic leap, but I think they'll be better. I think that you have to be better than last year, because last year to me was a travesty on the offense because they never looked in sync on anything. So I can't see it being any worse than what it was.
All right, Ryan, thank you very much for your always good contribution.
No problem. Thanks for having me on, guys. Go Pats.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right, let's go to Phil. Welcome to Santos on Sports.
Evening, guys.
How you doing?
Good. This season will make or break by that offensive line. The fact that they didn't go out and get a Pro Bowl level lineman or a good utility lineman who's consistent is just beyond me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, they went out and got a college offensive line coach, mm-hmm. which is not with no pro experience. He did really well with Oregon, but I don't see them winning 7 games this year. And that offensive line, they're going to be, like I put in the post earlier, they're going to be in the lower third of the league. They're just not. They're not going to protect Mac. They're going to get beat up just like Andrew Luck did because they never really put a good line in front of him.
I like what you're saying, Phil, and I think it starts there. If they cannot find a way to protect Mac or have him, not feeling the heat every single snap, it's going to be a long season. There's no doubt about it. And I'm almost getting, Phil, to the point of this could be a make or break year for Bill Belichick. I don't know why. I have this funny feeling if they play poor, I don't know how much the organization is going to sit back and take this. And might have to say we need to move on.
I want a competitive, he said it, competitive playoff win. Where is it? We're going into the 4th season. This is the 4th full season without Brady. We were so used to it, but so wasn't he. He put all the money. And if Mr. Kraft is honest and he really meant what he said, if Bill wants the money, I'll go pay it, even never mind that luxury tax stuff. And he didn't go spend it on some good linemen.
Yep.
So
agreed.
Hey.
Thanks for taking the call, guys.
All right, thank you very much, Phil. Thank you very much. All right, we had a comment here from Mark Patnod.
Yep.
And Mark Patnod says, ground and pound. Let the defense control the game.
Okay. Well, again, that's great philosophy, but you better make sure your offensive line can do that. And that's the key between Stevenson and Elliott. Now your 2 running backs, or your swing passes to the outside to your scat backs. And at the same time, can the offensive line produce that and pound and ground? And then, whether you score or not, you punt and let your defense take over. That's kind of difficult because that's not today's NFL. Unfortunately, today's NFL is throw the ball downfield. So we'll see how that looks in the first couple of weeks with the Bill O'Brien offense.
I see the Patriots there in the preseason game, and they're throwing these little swing passes,
Mm-hmm.
For a gain of 3, and then another little pass for a gain of 5. And, they run up the middle a couple of yards, and then they just got a 3rd down, just barely make the 1st down, So if that's what you want to do, that's fine, except that, things have to go right. You got to put together like 8 or 10 plays to make it the way down the field. Meanwhile, you get Mahomes out there, he drops back, throws a bomb, and it's 7 right there. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be able to have an explosive play, too, to mix in. You can't just, do it that sort of run the clock down thing, not when you got the explosive offenses around the league like you have.
No, you're probably right. And you can do it the way you said, as long as you can add in some of them big plays as what Brady used to do and know that he could get his slot receivers. And then when he had like a guy like Randy Moss, he could go deep and take the big one, or, some of them other guys, but he would hit Branch and Edelman and Welker and some of those other guys to contain it and get 1st downs. But then he could also hit the big play to Gronk down the seam. And the next thing you know, they got it. Now, do they have that opportunity? With this team, probably not, because the weapons are not there. And I don't think the offensive line's there for them to do that. So that's what they're trying to get away with what they can help. So they keep Mac alive for a full game without being injured or being pressed or attacked every chance he gets.
Well, here's the thing. We've talked about it before. In that Super Bowl between Tampa Bay and Kansas City, there were 2 offensive linemen in front of Mahomes that were injured. And as a result, Mahomes was running for his life half the game and ended up losing the game. And, I think the casual fan likes to say, well, Tom Brady beat, Patrick Mahomes. Well, wait a minute, back up a second. It's a little bit more complicated than that, as the attorney in me says. There's a whole bunch of things going on, a whole bunch of moving parts. And when Mahomes didn't have the offensive line and had 2 really key offensive linemen out, that was a difference in the game right there. We forget about how important the offensive line is when you're just kind of watching the game and focusing in on the quarterback.
Yeah, of course. Because the quarterback's the big position and you just want the big play. And that's what the NFL fans want to see. They want to see that explosive offense, and they like to see what Josh Allen does and Patrick Mahomes and players like that. And nothing against Mac Jones, but he's not that type of quarterback. No. They don't have that. He's not that style. So if you're New England fans, you better get used to it, because he's not those kind of guys. It's as simple as that. They're going to use him to the best of his ability of what he can do. And it could be dink and dunk, and it could be, get it going a little bit more. But it's not going to be what Allen does. It's not going to be what Rodgers does. It's not going to be what Mahomes does. It's as simple as that.
I've joked with you a number of times about Zappy and Zappy fever and all that. I got to tell you, the thing about Zappy, I like Zappy and all that. Problem is, he's not tall enough. You know what I mean? He's just not tall enough. If Zappy was 6'4", 6'5", he can do the Drew Brees thing, but, even then, you know what I mean? Like, balls keep getting batted down. He's going to try to find a space and throw a sidearm pass through, So, hey, even Zappy, I may be a Zappy guy, but, he's not going to make a difference either if he comes in there. Not really. I don't think so.
No, and I don't see him coming in. I don't think there is this controversy. I think it's Mac's team to start. It's Mac's team to finish. Now, if he really, really underperforms or he gets injured, then obviously we'll see a switch. But I don't see it happening. It's Mac's team. And Bill's already said it, and they're going with this. And Bill O'Brien is going to take his offense and do the best he can with the player that he has. And right now, Mac and Bill O'Brien seem to be on the same page. And that's all you can ask for going into the first game of the season.
All right, what do you think out there? We've got some good calls so far today, 774-762-6234. Join us here on Santos on Sports. And that's an interesting question, and you actually brought it up. This could be a make or break year for Belichick. So the question is, does Kraft really want Belichick to break the all-time coach win record, while he is on the Patriots, break Don Shula's record? It's probably a little bit overblown, but maybe he does. But here's the question I ask, right? And even Belichick admits, as I said earlier, great players make great coaches, right? So Tom Brady and Gronkowski, along with a lot of other good players, because that was a really good team, they go down to Tampa Bay and they win the Super Bowl, right? So let's say they stayed down there for 20 years, right? Does that mean Bruce Arians would have 5 Super Bowls and he'd be the greatest coach of all time and Bill Belichick wouldn't be? I think Bill Belichick has been lucky, because when you take away the players like Tom Brady and Gronkowski, he's just like everybody else. He's a good coach. But when you say somebody's the greatest of all time, what does that mean? He's the greatest of all time because he had Gronkowski and Brady, and Bruce Arians only had him 1 year. Suppose Bruce Arians was basically a stiff walking around with the CPAC unit on his stomach, going around there. He wins the Super Bowl with Brady, right? So what does that mean? To me, I'm putting 2 and 2 together, and I'm saying if Brady was there for 20 years, maybe Bruce Arians would be the greatest coach of all time.
And I'm also putting out to you too, Paul, does Bill Belichick end his career in New England, or will he go somewhere else? We thought Tom would be a Patriot forever. He left. We thought Gronk would probably be a Patriot forever. He went somewhere else. Now, even if Bill and said, well, listen, Bill, it's just time to move on and we're going to go in another direction, does Bill say, all right, I'm done? Or does another team come out there and say, we'll take Bill as our head coach? I don't see him ending in New England. I actually see him continuing to stay on, and maybe with someone else.
I'll tell you, he may do what Brady did. He may go to a team that's right on the threshold of winning the Super Bowl, you know, and go to San Francisco or someplace like that, and all of a sudden, oh no, not again. We can't have this happen again. But I got a call coming in here, a call from halfway across the country. This is one of our favorite calls. I think a gentleman is blown in here from the Windy City. Mark from Chicago. Hello.
How you guys doing today?
Hey, pretty good. You know, I got to meet Mark in person the other day. I really appreciate you stopping by my other show. We had a great time.
Oh, it was a lot of fun. I appreciated it, and it was great to meet you too. And when your wife, when I introduced myself to your wife, and she goes, "Are you Mr. Guarantee?"
Yeah, well, we joked about the whole guarantee thing, and I think she walked by so many times in the background, and she heard me say, "Here's Mr. Guarantee, here's Mr. Guarantee." So that's how she got the name. That's great. Is that awesome? My wife goes, "Are you Mr. Guarantee?"
Yeah.
Listen, Mark, you're an elite company because you got to go up on stage on the Paul Santos show. I mean, come on now. That's like being on the David Letterman show. That's how great that is in this area.
It was a tough night. It was a great comedian, and I don't know. I'm just a guy.
Oh, it was a great time. It was great to meet you. So, what's on your mind today? You want to talk about the Pats? I didn't think they're going to.
Bill Obrien.
Yeah, listen. Well, first of all, I disagree with Chris, and I usually agree with Chris on everything. Bill ain't going nowhere. I mean, Bill's going to break Shula's record. Maybe it's in a couple of years, and then he's done. I don't think.
Okay.
Listen, Super Bowls, he wants Shula's record. That's what he wants right now. He's got 6 Super Bowls. But what you guys are forgetting is small market teams don't sign big free agents. And, we're a small market team here in Boston.
Well, that's right. I know you're being sarcastic. That's the thing that bothers me. How can the Patriots possibly be 30th in spending?
Well, I've said this for a while now. You cannot, I don't care whether it's coaching, personnel, free agents, play calling, you cannot run the team the same way you ran it for 20 years with Tom Brady. Tom Brady leaves, and you're doing things that he could take journeymen. Wes Welker was a nobody in Miami, and he led the league in passing like 3 years in a row with Brady. So, and give him credit. They did, to your point earlier, they did spend some money a couple of years ago. But you gave a ton of money to Nelson Aguilar. You gave a ton of money to Jonnu Smith. I can argue Hunter Henry's been okay, but he hasn't lived up to the contract. You gave money to Devontae Parker, and you extended him. You signed Kendrick Bourne, a gadget-type player. Really, that whole season, I would tell you, Matthew Judon and Mills in the secondary were the only guys probably that were good signings.
No, and I agree. And I think that Bill's hanging on too long, Mark, because he thinks that those signings are still going to produce for this team down the road. And he's hanging on with Henry and Bourne and those guys and say, I don't need anything else. I made my selections, and these guys will improve under my tutelage as the head coach and my other coaches, and we will make them better, and they will perform for us.
Well, it looks like Butch disagrees with Chris and agrees with Mark. He says you guys are drinking the Kool-Aid with the national media if you actually think Coach Belichick is going elsewhere.
Okay. Hey, listen, did you say the same thing about Tom Brady? Can I look at you two guys and tell me that you said Tom Brady would spend his career as a New England Patriot? Mark?
Well,
Mark?
Hey, listen.
Mark? Come on, you said that Tom Brady would be a Patriot for his life.
On the screen pointing at me and yelling my name. But listen, there were always rumors about Brady wanting to be in either California or Florida. Listen, I mean, that was not a surprise. I mean, Bill ain't going anywhere. That's all I got to tell you.
No, but Chris, to answer your question, I absolutely thought that there was no way that they were going to let Tom Brady leave and not retire a Patriot.
I'm sure a lot of people did. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people did. But I'm joking with Mark. But Mark knows that we talk outside of this show, me and Mark, and I know how much of a Brady fan he is, and I'm sure he thought at the beginning that, hey, this Brady guy is the guy, and he's going to be here as a New England Patriot for probably his lifetime, and he's just going to end his career there. But that being said, we had that collision between Belichick and Brady to say, can one win without the other? And that might have been an insight to say to Tom, I think I can, and I'm going to go somewhere else. Maybe it was the contract disputes about keeping him longer, different things like that. And things happen. That's how it goes. So I understand all that. I'm curious to see, and I understand what you're saying, Mark, that he's going for Schuler's record. Probably makes total sense. I'm just curious that if this season does not go in a positive direction, how much longer Kraft and this organization sit there and say, do we want to really keep doing this? That's what I'm kind of worried about.
All right. Well, before we let Mark go, we got a comment here from Sonny Sylvia.
Yeah.
He says Dallas is all done.
Dallas,
what kind of a year you think Dallas is going to have?
Listen, Dallas has been done since 1999. They keep making the playoffs. They just don't win. So if you consider them done as in done where, they're not going to make the playoffs, well, I disagree with that. But they keep making the playoffs. They just don't do nothing when they get there. So to me, they need a leader to get them there and get them over the top. Right now, they don't have it. That's my answer to that one.
Hey, before I go, guys, just answering the question you asked, are they going to be better?
Yeah.
I've told both of you guys, I think they could possibly win 10, maybe 11 games. Now, the schedule is brutal. The conference is brutal. The division is brutal. Yeah. But you look at it a couple ways. I think the defense was pretty solid last year, okay? Mm-hmm. You can make an argument the defense is better, right? Mm-hmm. I think the kid White they got from Georgia Tech is going to be a beast. I think Boucher is going to get better. I think the defense potentially could be better. The offense has to be better, right? So, but all that being said, it's still discouraging when you have receivers that were out there. I don't know if DeAndre Hopkins was the answer, but I got to believe he'd have been the best receiver on the team. And I think the receiver, Juju Smith-Schuster, why did you sign that guy? He was the same player as Jacoby Myers, and it was the same contract. So I just didn't understand that either. I think the running game is going to be strong. To your point, though, it's a throwing league. I think Mac's going to be better. I don't think you're going to see 1 yard passes on 3rd and 7. So I think there's possibilities, but it's just discouraging. And hell, it's no different than Chaim Bloom not adding anybody at the trade deadline. Why aren't we trying to improve our teams? And I think the biggest thing in New England is they're running the organization the same way they have since 2001. And you can't do that when the greatest quarterback of all time is out. And the last thing I would say, going back to your comment, Chris, about Belichick. Yeah. Listen, don't think the rest of the league doesn't see it the way we see it. Hey, it was all Tom and not Bill. I think another team, even if you're close to contending, is going to see Bill Belichick right now at 78 years old or whatever he is as the answer. I mean, that's like re-electing Joe Biden. So, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
All right. You really think the Patriots are going to win 10 or 11 games?
Yeah, 10 or 11. There's our first prediction there, Paul.
I think they're going to play great defense, and I think they're going to find a way to patchwork some things on offense. I think they're going to win against Philly in week 1. You heard it here first. That's a guarantee.
Oh, whoa.
I'm going to throw a guarantee out there, but listen, the caveat, hey, I'm going to put an asterisk. It's the offensive line. I think Onwenu's going to be back. I believe that. Strange, I think, is a big one. I think, Chris, I heard you say earlier, I do believe Strange is going to get better.
Yes.
And I think he ended the season pretty strong, but you need him out there. Yep. So I preface what I said with, do the offensive line get healthy, or are they going to keep rotating and bringing in these guys? Then they go 8 and 9. Otherwise they win 10 games.
All right, so let me get this straight. This is like a qualified guarantee. So if they have the healthy offensive line in there against Philly in week 1, then you guarantee a win. Is that right?
I'm going to tell you, I don't care who's on the offensive line. I'm throwing a week 1 win against Philly out there.
Wow.
They're going to throw some surprises at you that you haven't seen. Bill Obrien has not shown you in the preseason what he's going to do. They're winning game 1, but to win 10 games, they need a good offensive line.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the call. We appreciate it.
Boys, be well.
All right. Bye-bye. And by the way, don't forget to call after week 1. If they win, you can call up and you can spike the football. You know what I mean? But if they lose, I mean, your record on the guarantees, he's like 0-3 or something, isn't he right now?
I listen. I don't have that written down, so I listen. Mark's sitting back thinking, hey, they're going to surprise. In week 1, they're going to throw some wrinkles out there. They just got to hope that it works out for them and show something that, as Mark just said, they have not shown yet in preseason. Now, you can do that all you want in practice. And obviously now you come to game time. Can you still execute and do the same thing? That's the difference. And you're not talking about an average team. You're talking about a top-notch NFC team. So it'll be interesting how Bill Obrien brings that offense in week 1 against Philadelphia, a good team.
All right, we're going to go a few minutes over because we started late. So if you want to get in, 774-762-6234. Thank you very much for the comments and the calls so far here on Santos on Sports. Paul and Chris, along with you here. Hope you've had a great week, and we hope you have a great weekend coming up. I got to tell you, the difference between 7 wins and 10 wins in the NFL. I mean, think of last year, right? The Patriots won, I believe, 8 games or 8 and 9, right? So if they had won 10 games instead of 8, think about like the 2 or 3 plays. Like you can think of 2 or 3 plays. That's it. 2 or 3 plays that they either blew the play, they fumble a ball, there was a bad interception, there was a dumb play, the difference between winning and losing, as we all know, is like that much. So between 8 and 10, I mean, it's just, you watch these games. I think they're going to be competitive, but I think that's what it is. It's going to be the same thing as last year. It's going to come down to like a few plays. Are they going to make those few plays so they can get 9 or 10 wins, or they're not going to make those plays and end up with 7 or 8 wins?
Sometimes, special teams can win you a game. Sometimes penalties can win you a game. Don't forget that.
Or lose you a game.
Yeah, or lose you a game. I mean, yeah, back and forth. Special teams, penalties, all this can be up and down. So, the Patriots had a little bit more difficult time with that last year, Paul. If we recall some games that we talked about and said there's a big play and they got called for holding, or there was a big play and they fumbled the ball at the 10. So, yeah, uncharacteristic of Bill teams, as me and you talked about last year. That will be interesting to see if he has that a little bit more under control going into this season as well.
Well, Butch made a comment here. He said that Mr. Guarantee is on a roll with these predictions.
Well, we'll see if that's true. And, to meet him in person, Paul, you got to see the best of him. And now we'll see if his prediction holds true with whatever offensive line they throw out there, which to me is the big success of this season for New England.
I really hope Mac Jones can have a good year. I do think they kind of hung him out to dry last year with not having good seasoned offensive coordinators. So in all fairness to Jones, I mean, they just hung him out to dry last year. So now he's there. He's with a guy he's familiar with. He's comfortable. He's able to take that next step and say, you know what, me and this offensive coordinator, we work well together. We know each other. He's putting in a system that I like. We're going to be able to make some plays. We're going to surprise some people. That could be a possibility. That could happen. I hope it does, and I hope I'm wrong, and I hope that some of the callers that have called are wrong, and they do end up with the 10 wins like Mr. Guarantee says.
Well, I mean, that's all you can ask for. And, so our question to be, can Bill O'Brien do better or make a difference for this team? That's where I say yes, because we've seen, last year and the year before how it just didn't seem to click as it could. And I think he can make that better to put some more points on the board, to score in the red zone, to create some more downfield plays, things like that, and keep the defenses on their toes. And that's all you can hope for.
Well, I just want to mention really quickly, because I know you've done this many times before, but I believe it's week 4, I want to say, week 4 or week 5. The Patriots are going to be traveling to Dallas to take on Chris's Dallas Cowboys.
Yep.
Well, I have a friend that lives down there, so I gave him a call. I said, hey, how about if I come down and grab a couple of tickets and see the Patriots? I haven't seen you in a couple of years since COVID and all that. He's like, sure, come on down. So I got a couple of tickets to go to the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, which of course it's just unbelievable. I've only been there for the tour, so I haven't actually seen a game there. So I'm really looking forward to it. My only thing is, I hope the Patriots aren't like 0-4 or something like that when the game is played. Because hopefully they're competitive and they're right there with Dallas, and it's a meaningful game.
Well, first, Paul, you have friends in Dallas. You're branching out, Paul. You're branching out. You're setting yourself up, and you're trying to get out there. And yeah, I would probably go myself, but I already had it planned to go in November against the Giants. So I will be at that one. I will not be able to make the one against New England. But yeah, I think New England will have a win or two under their belt, by the time maybe they get to Dallas. So, be optimistic as you go there. Just, root for the Cowboys and you'll be just fine.
No. I'm going to wear my, I don't know. I got to come up. Maybe I'll get a Zappy jersey and go in there.
I don't know if you want to do that.
No, I don't think I want to do that.
No.
How do you think Dallas is going to be this year? You think they're going to be in the playoffs again, and then see what happens, right?
I do, and as I told that Sonny, I like my team. I think my team will make the playoffs again, and it comes down to the leadership of our quarterback that can bring us over the top to win a Super Bowl. Because to me, it's on his shoulders. It's as simple as that. And I don't know if Dak Prescott is the player to lead them to a Super Bowl, but I'm hoping that he can.
Well, you know what my issue with Dak Prescott is?
The it factor. Yeah, there you go.
You knew what I was doing over here, didn't
I
you?
knew. I knew.
Some people have it, some people don't. I got a real question before we go. How do you think Aaron Rodgers is going to do on the Jets?
I think, and as a matter of fact, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be just fine. I think he's going to have a good year. I think he's going to be solid. And the reason I say that, Paul, is because he's a professional. He's a professional when he's on the field. I don't care what happens off the field. And he'll take the New York limelight and he'll make the best of it because, you're going to be on the scrutiny with that big city. I get all that. And I think he's going to handle it just fine. I think he's going to work real well with that coach. And I think the Jets will be okay and they will improve on that offense under him this year, hands down. I truly believe that.
All right, this has been a fun show today. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Mark Patnod, Sonny Sylvia, Jeremy Silverfine for making comments. In fact, Jeremy said, keep up the good work, so we appreciate that. For our great callers, Phil, Ryan, Mark, and Butch for contributing to the show. And, of course, my good friend here, Mr. Chris Santos. So, hey, we'll be watching the games tonight. We'll see what happens, and then football is right around the corner. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, we sure are. I mean, it's just moments away from week one, and everybody gets all pumped up for it. Tough start. Eagles, week one. We know what they bring to the table. We know what they have, and they made some nice moves in their draft as well. So I think they've only gotten better. That's why big prediction from Mr. Guarantee about that one. But, hey, that's why they play the game, Paul, and you never know day from day.
Well, their quarterback hurts. I mean, it's almost like every single play is a 4-down play. I mean, once they get within 1 yard, he just puts his head down, plows through, and gets the first down. It's like amazing how he did that in the Super Bowl. I know they didn't win the game, but, they were going forward on 4th down. Like, as long as they were within 1 yard, you just go and get the first down every time. It made it like you have an extra down all the time.
Hey, listen, Brady used to do that a lot, too.
I know.
Very good. If I had to look that up for a stat, every time Brady made a first down on 4th and 1, it was quite impressive because he always seemed to get it. So, those guys can do it. And Tom was big enough to get that done. Jalen's just a little bit more quicker and shifty. So, he's a tough quarterback. He's starting to come into his own. I hope he doesn't get too good because he's in the NFC East. And so I hope he calms down a little bit when he gets to Dallas or when we play them in Philadelphia.
All right. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank our sponsor, Scotty's Pub at 202 Pleasant Street in Fall River. Citywide glass with three locations to serve you at 425 State Road in Dartmouth. Additional locations in Fall River and Taunton. Lakeville Athletic Club, 325 Bedford Street in Lakeville, where you can play tennis and pickleball. And John Seed, attorney at law, 156 8th Street in New Bedford. And you can contact him at johnseedlaw.com. Oh, I was thinking about you the other day, Chris, because, in fact, I mentioned it to Roger Brightman. There was a PGA tournament game, a couple of weeks ago where it went into like double overtime or triple overtime or something like that. Maybe, I don't know if there was some extra holes.
Yep.
And it came down to I put it on. I'm like, what's going on here? And there was like an extra hole. And then the announcer there, he said something like, if he makes this shot, if he doesn't make this shot, he loses.
Mhm.
Right. So then I'm like, oh man, that's a long putt. It was Jim Nance. Jim Nance.
Mhm.
Like, if he doesn't make this putt, the other guy wins. So I'm like, oh, there's no way this guy's going to make this putt. Right. All of a sudden he hits the ball. Ball's going, boom, 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 and I see the hole over here. I'm like, oh my God. But I said to Mario, look, he's going to make the shot. And the ball rolling, the ball rolling, the ball rolling. It just missed, and the other guy won.
Mhm.
You know what I'm talking about?
I did not see that one a couple of weeks ago, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
But with sudden death.
Yeah, I think it was a sudden death hole or
Yeah.
something like that. So I could get that, I mean, I'm not a golf guy like you are, but
Mhm.
some of those some of those events are pretty cool to watch, if it comes down to an extra hole or something like that.
Yeah, and right now the PGA is down to the top 30 players in their league, and their tournament is this week. So you're going to crown a winner for the FedEx Cup on Sunday, and so they're doing battle right now out in East Lake and out in Atlanta, Georgia. So it will be interesting to see who comes to the end there. So it's a good battle going on between some great players. But yeah, it's a lot of fun when it gets down the stretch, because those guys, the top 30 are so close and evenly matched, and you get those kind of playoffs down the stretch. So it's a lot of fun. Been there before, especially in that sport. And so it can be nerve-wracking, but yeah, it doesn't take much, Paul, just to slide by, like you say, inches away from making putts.
You know what I think about Chris Santos? I think Chris Santos has the it factor. Some of these tournaments and some of these, tennis matches and stuff. Sometimes,
not all the time, but
not all
sometimes.
the time. All right. Well, thank you very much, Chris. We'll see what happens with the Pats tonight. We're looking forward to. My red zone is ready to go, and hopefully we'll have some fun during the football season. And I'm looking forward to my little trip to Dallas.
Yeah, and I start school next week, Paul. So I want to wish all the high school players and coaches for a great season. I know Paul works the Dartmouth High games. I'll be still working the New Bedford High and New Bedford Vote games. So good luck to coaches and all the players as your season gets underway shortly.
All right. For Chris Santos, I'm Paul Santos for Santos on Sports. Thank you very much for those that commented and called, and we'll talk to you soon. In the meantime, go Pats. We'll talk to you in a little while.